I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and this cute otter is the new pattern in the Funny Faces Quilt Block of the Month Club. So when I say it's the current pattern, it is right now, February 1st, 2024. And if you're in the club, you should have already received an email with a link to download the pattern. If you join the club anytime in the month of February 2024, this is the pattern that you're going to get instantly. And if you're seeing this video and it's way later than February 2024, you can go to shinyhappyworld.com and just find this in the pattern section of the shop. Here's how to make it. Okay, this is the video showing you how to put together the otter block if you do have a Lightbox. So just a quick overview of my setup here. I've got my Lightbox on, the brightness turned up as bright as it'll go. I've got my placement guide, and I have a clear silicone mat. So I've got all of my pieces cut out and prepped and ready to go, with one exception. So I've cut them all out on the solid lines, but now I need to transfer. I don't need to worry about the dotted lines. Those are for if you don't have a Lightbox. But all of these solid lines for the whiskers, those are not placement guides for applique, they are stitching lines. So I do need to transfer those. So I'm going to use my Lightbox and just a fine tip Sharpie, and I'm just going to trace over those lines so that when I peel the paper backing off, I can still see where I need to stitch. So I've got those on the kind of on the muzzle piece, and I also have them on the neck piece. So I'm just using, it's okay that I'm using a permanent pen because I'm going to stitch over these with black thread. So it really does not matter that there's a black line hiding underneath my black thread. You'll never even see it. Okay, now we're ready to start layering the pieces in place. And we are going to start with piece number 1, because if you're using a Lightbox, the numbers, in addition to telling you what piece is what, they also tell you what order to lay them down in. So we're going to start with piece number 1, which is the neck. And then number 2 is one of the ears. So otters, whether they are river otters or sea otters, tend to have a dark top to their head. I'm going to do piece number 3 now, and dark ears. But their snout or their muzzle is either lighter brown, sometimes almost like a cream color, and sometimes it is kind of gray. So that is just kind of the normal colors for both sea otters and river otters, and this pattern works for both. So piece number 4 is his mouth here. Now 5 is the top of his head. So all of these browns are all from my Grizzly blenders. That is the collection of fabrics that I designed especially for applique, and all of the ones with animal names are in kind of realistic animal colors. So all of the browns are in the Grizzly blenders. There we go. Now 6 is the muzzle, and that includes these light browns all the way down to cream. So all the way from cream color to like a very dark chocolate brown are all in the Grizzly blenders. There we go. All right, next up is number 7. That is his nose. And then 8 and 9 are his big, big otter eyes. So if you ever have trouble seeing through the fabric, especially if it's a darker fabric, just push it down until it's making actual contact with the layers beneath it, and that'll make the light shine right through. So there's also, the pattern does include eyelashes, so you could also put eyelashes on your otter. I did not on this one, but that would be another thing that you would transfer with the Sharpie if you decide to use them. And at the end of this, I'll show you a block where I did do that. All right. So I'm going to very carefully lift up the silicone mat, carry it to my ironing board, and fuse all these pieces in place right on the silicone mat. And then I'm going to let it cool and peel it off. and then fuse it on the fabric block, and that's the permanent fuse. And then I'll do all the outline stitching on it, including stitching over all of these whiskers. And then I'll bring it back here and show you the finished block, and also show you a couple of other color options that I made, including one where I did do those eyelashes. All right, this is the finished Otter block. So this is a version of the block where I added some water along the bottom, and these little waves are a free pattern that you can get at shinyhappyworld.com. There's a link to download that to get to that free pattern in the pattern for the otter. You can use it, or you don't need to use it, or you can use it for a whole bunch of other things, but the water is separate from the pattern and free. And here is one of the finished otter blocks. So this is one that I made with a brown face and kind of a light brown, a brown head and ears, and a lighter brown muzzle and neck, which is very, very common to see in otters. But I've got a couple of other color combinations that I did. So with this version, I did not do the waves, and this one is, again, a darker top of the head and a lighter further down, but this one is all done in kind of a taupe gray. This is actually the Driftwood blenders from the Seabreeze collection, and you'll notice one other thing that's different with this one, and that's that I added the eyelashes. So if you'll remember in the video when we were talking about making it, I said that you can either stitch them or ignore them. This is one where I decided to stitch them. And I have one more color option. And this is another very common color that you see both in river otters and in sea otters, and that is a darker brown top of the head, and the lighter part, instead of being brown, tan, like that first one that I showed you, can shift towards kind of a gray shading. So that's what I did with this one. So that is how you put together the otter block. Again, this is the February 2024 pattern in the Funny Faces Quilt Block of the Month Club. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and I'll see you next time.